Good day, everyone. I'm Nico Miller. In recent news, there's been commotion about haircuts in Bahamian schools. Growing up in Nassau and having to deal with this firsthand, I'd like to share my opinion on the matter. For those who don't know, I'll give you a little background information. Schools in the Bahamas, private as well as government schools, that's the public schools, enforce a strict British colonial style dress code. Everyone wears uniform, which isn't an issue. I actually think mine was quite stylish. And the young men must have their hair groomed in a very low cut, a schoolboy haircut, which is the subject of this rant. No dreadlocks, no twist, no afro, just a short haircut. Most young men in the Bahamas are of the Negro race. This is important in understanding the types of haircuts applicable. There are a few special cases for those whose religion affects their hair, mostly Rastafarians, but they have to keep their hair covered, which I don't think it makes any sense. I've always had a problem with this, especially when I was younger and subject to the rules, and inwardly I knew that it just didn't make any sense. I had and have just one question, and I've never really been able to get a reasonable answer. Why? Why the stringent rules on hair? I couldn't press the question when I was younger, but now that I'm older, I can. Throughout the years, I've received several responses to my question. But before going into my argument, I must make one statement clear early in the article before everyone jumps to conclusions. I think that short and neat are two completely different things, not synonymous at all. Of course, I don't think that young men's hair should be unkempt. I don't think anyone's hair should be ungroomed, to tell you the truth. What I believe is that as long as the hair is neat and well groomed, which I know it's semi subjective, it should be allowed, regardless of the length. I'm also not a lawless guy. I know that rules are important, especially in a school setting, but what I'm saying is that the current rules are unfair and outdated. Now, on to the arguments that I've heard. One, the hair is a distraction. That doesn't make any sense because the female students, they have hair, they have longer hair and it's not seen as a distraction. So I don't think anyone faints when they see two strand twist or some longer hairstyles. Some say that the long hair looks ungroomed. That's just not true. There are lots of longer, neat hairstyles, and if this were the case, wouldn't the female students have to be bald? Think about it. That's how it's always been. That's how it should be. Let me give you this scenario. If a man came up to you right now and slapped you in the face, and then he did it again the next day, and then the day after that, is it justified just because it's tradition? No. Nothing should ever be done simply out of tradition. Sense is sense, nonsense is nonsense, and no matter if something's 1,000 years old or 1 second old, you shouldn't do it just because you've always done it. I've done some research as to how this came about, and I have an idea in my mind. Of course, correct me if I'm wrong, and tell me what you think in the comment section. During British colonial rule, short hair policies were mainly forced on black boys as a tool of control. Colonial schools used grooming to civilize and discipline them, teaching that African hair was wrong and that European neatness was the standard. White boys weren't subject to the same rules. It was racial conditioning disguised as discipline. Those rules and ideas stuck, and even today, natural black hairstyles are still judged through the colonial lens. You may be saying, Nico, that's the most ChatGPT answer I've ever heard. That's because it is. I copied and pasted. But I can corroborate that that's exactly how it was when I was in grade school. One other thing that I must add was that to me it just seemed unfair. The female students had such liberty, relatively speaking, not only on the length, but they could also put hairstyles, fake hair in their hair or extensions, but male students couldn't do anything. It was an injustice. My proposition: I think that we should gradually increase the number of approved hairstyles that young men are able to wear in schools, focusing on the neatness slash grooming rather than the length itself. Again, if you agree or disagree with me, let me know in the comments. You could DM me on any platform, follow me. And this kind of video came from an article I wrote on my website. You should check it out. nicomil.com/blog. It's a lot better. Doesn't have the cuts and just awkwardness. What else? Yeah, follow me. I usually do more engineering things and like development. I like transportation, other stuff, but I like to just do a couple rants, things that I'm thinking about. So again, let me know what you think.